Alright, in this next Photoshop 101 video, we're going to go over the bottom of the layers panel and the things that are here for you to do. Obviously, new canvas here we started. We got our background layer is locked there. This very the far right thing, not the trash can, but the little plus sign, that's just going to be your create new layer. That's pretty important. You can click on that little button there. On a PC, you can click or hold down Control, Shift, and N, and it's going to create a new layer. That's the hotkey for that. So you can see I just added and created a new layer. So there's those two options. It's one of those things, it's a hotkey that I tend to forget quite a bit. I'll usually click on New Layer, and then some of the things that you do, like if you were doing text or you're adding a shape or something like that, they'll automatically create their own new layer. So I can click on like the text tool, and I'll type inside here. Because it was in a blank layer, it will fill that layer with whatever the text is. So we'll just name this layer 1 just to make it easy. But I'll show you here, like if we were to, I'll put that up there, if we're on the background layer and then we click on text and we click here, it's going to generate us a brand new layer. So certain things you don't have to click the plus sign to add the new layer. Certain things will generate it. We'll name this one layer 2. We'll go back to our background, and then I'll show you, like if we do a shape, we have our fill of our shape to red. We don't have any stroke around it, so it's just going to be a solid red shape. If we hold down Shift while making it, it will make it a perfect square. If you're not holding Shift, you can drag and produce whatever shape you want, but that will also create its own layer on its own. If you're using the paintbrush or like the paint bucket tool or anything like that, you will want to create your own layer, create a new layer, because those things will not generate their own layers. So we've got 3 layers here. We've got a rectangle, layer 1, and layer 2. The second thing here we'll go over is the delete layer. You can click a layer, say you want to get rid of it, we want to get rid of layer 2. We can hit the trash can button. It's going to ask us, do you want to delete that? Hit enter, click yes. You can also click this don't show again. I like to keep this available and open just in case I'm trying to delete something and I'm on the wrong layer over here. It just gives me kind of a backup. So say yes. So we deleted that layer there. The next thing is going to be create groups. So in order to create a group, we can group these 2 layers together if we wanted. Say they're part of the same element. Say we wanted to drag this layer 1 down into this and make like a little badge or a square or something. It's fine. To group layers, you're going to click on the layer you want and hold down Control and then click on the other layer that you want. If you're trying to just group all of the layers together, you can click the top one and then hold down Shift, and it will select all of the layers. But for this case, we want to just select layer 1 and the rectangle 1, so we'll hold down Control, click both of them. When they're both highlighted, then you can click the little folder here, and that's going to put those 2 things into their own group. You can view the group and what's inside of it by clicking the drop down arrow, and it'll show you all the items inside that group. We can go ahead and name it whatever we want by double clicking the text up here, and then that will let you name it what you want. So then you can keep things a little bit more organized by making groups. You can also hide the group, everything that's inside of it, by clicking the little eyeball icon, and it'll hide that entire group, so we don't want to see it. Or if we pop it back up, we can see it. With groups, the move tool will also move all of the groups, everything that's in the group together proportionately, so it's not going to mess things up. So you can click on the move tool up top or hit V for your short code or your short key, and then you can drag it around and it'll drag that entire layer, everything that's in it, and it'll keep them all in the same position within each other. So that's pretty helpful, pretty handy thing. It'll also allow you to resize things. So if you were to like click the edge, it's going to resize, you know, the entire thing the same way. And then if you want to resize proportionately, hold down Shift and then click any edge and it'll make it bigger or smaller. But it allows you to modify an entire group of things all at once, which is nice. It's nice putting things into groups. It's a very helpful aspect of designing. And then the next thing is going to be this little drop down menu, and this is creating fill or adjustment layers. Fill and adjustment layers are extremely important. I'm just going to click on here and kind of give you guys a brief overview. These top three things are going to be all fill layers. So if we were to click solid color, it's going to literally let us pick a color. We can decide whatever color we want, and it is going to create a new layer with that color as the layer. So it's linked this new layer here, and it says it's filled it with this, you know, off red color. If you want to then change that color, you can just double click this icon here with the color in it, and it'll let you pick a different color. So that's one of the fill and adjustment layer options. You can also make a solid gradient. If you click on that, it will bring up a dialog box of your gradient options. If you then click here, you can, you know, select what gradient you want to do. So say you want to do that gradient, or, you know, something that's a little bit more contrast to see a little bit better. But the fill layers are pretty good. I use the fill layer quite a bit, more so with the pattern. If you were to click pattern, it's going to then create a new fill layer, and then it'll give you your drop down list here that you can select, you know, the patterns that you want to give you your entire canvas filled with a color, a gradient, or a pattern. So those are all really important tools there. The rest of these things here from the bottom, I will go over in another video, similar to the one a few videos ago where I went over the blending modes, just because these all require a little bit more in depth than these first three, the solid color, gradient, pattern. Those are pretty straightforward. This next section here, this little rectangle with a circle in it, is adding a mask to things. You know, I briefly touched on it in one of the last video for the toolbar. This little section over here, adding quick mask, this is where the mask comes into play. So that's something that I'll touch in a video on its own. And then this FX button is going to be a special effects button. You can click that to add a layer style. Then you can add you know, a bunch of different things here. It's not the best way to add layer styles to things. The next video after this one, I will go into more in depth on actually adding layer styles to a specific layer itself. And then the last thing is going to be linking layers together. So if you shift and click two layers and you click on this little link layers, it's going to link those two layers together. So whatever you do to the one layer, it will do to the other layer. So I can link them. It's similarly to putting them in a group. I don't really link layers very often. I find it's just easier to put them in groups because, you know, if I wanted to change something, then I can change them individually inside the little group folder. So not super important on the linking thing. If you wanted to unlink the layers, you could right click it and click unlink, but not super important. The next video I'm going to go over in the layers panel here is right click, and what the right click will do to different layers, and kind of this dialog box here, and what these things do, and then we'll jump into blending options, which will be a really fun little section there, and you guys will learn a lot, and it'll help your designs quite a bit. So we will see you in the next video.